Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us and welcome to the Product in LA podcast. I'm your host, Ethan Cole, and this is an opportunity to shine the spotlight on some of the exceptional product leaders we have as part of the LA product community. Very excited for today's episode. We have Matt Goldade with us. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
Oh, it's good, Ethan. I'm glad to be here. How are you
Super
doing?
excited for the. I'm doing great. I'm super excited for this episode. Clearly, uh, I am ready to talk to you about some OTT streaming. But before that, let's talk to our listeners about the sponsors. As always, Product in LA is brought to you by Uruit. That's URUIT.com. They're a digital product studio with 15 years of experience partnering with companies that want to challenge their industries. Whether their client is a startup or an industry titan, they can provide them with the right blend of creative design and robust engineering to create an experience that people love. They are a team of skilled experts that will help strategize, validate, design, and develop new products or improve existing ones by becoming an extension of the company's team. For more information, go to uruit.com. That's Uruit, uruit.com. We're also brought to you by the Product Managers Association Los Angeles. They are a 3,000 member organization of LA's top product talent. They put on meetups around town, and they also have a mentorship program where they connect working product managers with students from underrepresented groups to help build a more robust and diverse next generation of product people. To learn more about PMA, go to pma.la, and the mentorship program is pma.la/mentorship. Our guest today is Matt Goldade. He's the Senior Director of Product Development at Peacock, that's NBC's streaming platform. His past roles include Senior Director of Product Management at DirecTV, and he's held product roles at Disney, Fox, Yahoo, and Oracle. And one interesting fact you might find by perusing his LinkedIn page is he actually owns the patent for interactive alerts for a viewable highlight. So Matt, when I go to if I'm watching a game and a little interactive pop-up comes up on my screen and says, Jalen Hurts just threw for a 32 yards and a touchdown. That was you? That's your baby?
Yeah, so it was actually a collection of a few people. So at DirecTV, we used to find like Thursdays or Friday afternoons. We were kind of getting ready for the weekend. We'd kind of sit down and think about like what are some really cool things that we can do. And then we'd sit around and we'd talk about these various ideas that we were either thinking about doing in the product or that we just wanted to do. And we'd we came up with, it's integrated into NFL Sunday Ticket, exactly what you talked about, and we'd go through it and we'd put our names on it and then do the submissions, and we'd do several like submissions a month, just to see how many of these things we could get through.
That's a fun way to innovate. So just kind of like the way to spend your Thursday or maybe a slow Friday afternoon with some of your teammates. You guys just kind of kick around ideas.
Yeah, it used to be actually Thursday in more particular because it was a great way to like end the day on a Thursday heading into the Friday, which is kind of like, you know, the little weekend. And so to kind of like just, you know, set the tone of just sitting around chatting about various things that we were doing, and then you come in on the Friday and you kind of just, do some of those ideas and then get yourself ready for the weekend. So yeah, it was a great way to like, and your mind tends to be a little freer at that time of the week than it does
Yeah.
like at the beginning because you're thinking about all the things that you have to do. So it's a great time to just kind of sit down and think through those things.
And it's not like a Friday afternoon where you're kind of like one foot out the door. If I end this meeting, I get to go home and grab a beer. Maybe Thursdays, maybe a little more productive, but still a little looser than maybe a Monday morning or Tuesday.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
great. And just before we leave this, because this is really fun, um, were there any other things that came out of that? Like, is there anything else that I've watched regularly on TV and came out of one of those meetings? Is there and how many of those patents came out of those meetings?
Um, I actually don't recall all the ones because it was over like an 8 year span that we did several of these.
That's fair.
And it's funny because we would submit them and it might be like 2 years later that we get the recognition notice that like, hey, this got submitted and accepted as a patent, and here's your plaque and your stuff. And we're kind of like, what was that for again? And we gave them, as you can see, very technical names on many of them. But we submitted things like that often got rejected because other companies had already submitted those ideas. One of those being that we were trying to create like a linear timeline of content based off of bot assets, with the
Mm,
understanding that when people open up a SVOD service, they don't always want to start everything from the beginning. So, some people just want things in the background, or you're putting something together in a room, or you want something that you're just turning it on, and I want an action movie. So just play. I don't really care what it is. Don't make me start from the beginning, just throw me in the middle of it. So we were trying to create these like timelines of bot assets that was like but that turned out to be something that somebody else already had the patent to.
yeah, so it like mimics a broadcast network. And for those at home, SVOD would be a subscription video on demand service similar to like a Netflix.
Oh yes, I have to forget about all the acronyms.
All good. I know there's a lot of them. Well, Matt, very excited to hear about this and hear about what you're working on now. But love to learn more about your journey into product. How did you find your way into becoming a video streaming guy?
Yeah, so I kind of stumbled into it, and it was right out of school. I actually went and because I had done some internships for Oracle while I was in school. So right after school, I went and worked for them, but I went and started as an instructor for them, teaching our software to our customers. And so I was traveling around the country and going to various education centers, and I'd have like 24 people that come in that were customers, and I would teach them about the Oracle software and how to code SQL and PL SQL. So I kind of started out in a little bit of a kind of a technical space.
Okay.
And then after kind of, I had a very unique trip over to actually teach a class in Malaysia. And then
Wow.
on my way back, they asked me to be, so I live in California, mind you, and they asked me to be in Philadelphia on the following Monday. So I traveled back, switched suitcases, and then traveled out to Philadelphia. And on my way back, I decided that I didn't want to like travel that much anymore. It was pretty intense. So I actually sought out a position within our product marketing team at Oracle. And it was by one of those means that I don't know if they always work, but I sent an, or mind you, Oracle was much smaller at the time, but I sent an email to our chief marketing officer, and I said, "Hey, do you have any positions that are in this area?" There was no product management at the time.
Right.
And he forwarded on to somebody else and said, "Would you like to talk to him?" And so then I did that for about a year, and then I moved over into like special kind of. We had like a special projects team, and we were doing some kind of new ways of getting Oracle software on smaller devices, and so that kind of started my product management journey because it was
Mm,
really in the early days of doing the wireframes, doing the requirements. It was like basically doing everything, and even mocking it up and creating my own prototype and everything, and basically sitting side by side with a couple of developers and developing this. Um, Great time and a lot to learn, but my passion had always been in like entertainment and
right.
film. So after about 6 years there, I actually went to film school. Um, and to date it, it was called digital video intensive. So like digital video was new at the time,
Okay.
that they actually put it in the title of the course. And I took that, and coming out of that after 8 months, I moved to LA, and Yahoo was moving heavily into the entertainment space. We all know where that ended up, but then I kind of navigated my career from Yahoo to Fox and then to Disney, um, and you know, always enjoying kind of the ever growing aspect of entertainment and how it blended well with technology. And then I moved over to DirecTV. Now, mind you, at that time, there was no streaming wasn't really a big thing at the time, so there was
Right.
no Disney Plus or anything at Disney. So I moved over to where there was scale. So I moved to DirecTV, and learned a lot there, and and really got to kind of wrap my head around kind of the video entertainment business. And then from there, it brought me over here to Peacock.
Yeah, and what might get lost or forgotten is just how recent this whole streaming revolution was, right? And there really wasn't much streaming until you have correct me how my timing here, but there really wasn't much streaming on websites until I want to say the mid 2000s to late 2000s. Like YouTube, I don't think was even started until maybe 2010 or 2011.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I think I came over to DirecTV about 2013. So yeah, so we were doing some streaming on, when I was at Disney, we were doing some streaming on ABC Family, but it was primarily just next day episodes that were also available on like Hulu. And it was just getting started. The a Disney app
Hmm.
was just kind of starting to gain traction. But we still kind of, it wasn't a separate subscription service. It was still connected to having a pay TV subscription to get access to that content. So, we were several years out from where we are today.
Yeah, those are the days where you had to enter your login information for whatever cable subscriber you had being able to access the streaming on someone else's site on another person's app.
Exactly.
That's great. How has it changed? I mean, beyond now availability, right? Clearly, it's available on from a desktop computer back when it started to mobile sites to apps, and now apps everywhere and on every screen you can think of. Um, what are the biggest changes you've seen in, I guess, maybe how you do product management in the entertainment digital space that you've seen along your journey,
Um, that's interesting. That's an
or
interesting
not, or is it
question.
more similar than you think?
Well, it is it's similar. Well, let me go back to like some time at ABC Family, which is kind of like where I was really getting into, the video content being the main aspect of what it is that people were coming to our site for.
Ooh,
At the
before we do that, what
Yeah.
were they doing before? So prior to the video content, how are these websites being used by these properties?
So they were primarily being used to, well, start with promoting the content, the
Okay.
shows to watch, and then there was a big movement into like subsequent content that went with the video. So think slideshows, articles,
Okay.
just things that were written about the content. And the idea was that that was going to be the driver. It was that people were going to come here and go and consume all that, and then also maybe watch some episodes of the content.
Yeah.
And we had, so on the ABC Family homepage, we had it was very content driven. Exactly what I talked to is, I'm sorry, very like non-video content driven.
Yeah.
And so I had a hypothesis because there was a high bounce rate from the homepage into the video, and ultimately we then started wanting to drive into video, and I noticed that there wasn't a lot of people continuing through into the video.
Huh.
And so we had a hypothesis that said that was, what if the homepage became more video centric, and we kind
Mm.
of moved that content onto the secondary pages, and made the video the highlight. How would that actually impact the overall viewership and then the growth of the site? And so we did a test. We did an A/B test,
Yeah.
and just ran it through. And since it was a website, it was real easy to do. And we had 10% of the audience, and then split that, and said, okay, half of that group gets what we have today, and half of that group gets just video on the homepage.
Right.
And we saw a dramatic increase in the consumption of the video. I mean, as you would expect, right? Because people come there, but that we learned a lot about, like, wow, people really come here for the video. They're not necessarily coming here for everything else that's associated with it that we thought that they wanted to see. And so from there, we actually did a redesign and kind of made it more, we still had the complimentary content, but we went more video centric, and then everything kind of grew from there.
And was this one of the first sites to do that, to move to video ahead of content?
I think so. At the time, I think so. I know that we were kind of one of the first to say, let's take what's already on linear pay TV, and let's, in addition to like Hulu, let's make it available directly from,
Yeah.
the programmer, or Disney in this case. So that was kind of new, and then that's kind of how it took off.
Wow, it sounds like you could have maybe missed a chance for a patent on that one too. You could have had a patent on the
I
video
think there were
first websites.
I think there were a lot those already probably written.
That's incredible, Matt. It's so fun to hear this, and having worked in the industry, from some of the origins, where do you see it going from here? Where do you see the future of streaming now that we've, it seems like we had channels on the cable box that then had their own websites and then apps that had their own things. And then, some of those broke off into streaming services themselves. So like a Disney broke off into its own. So now we have kind of a fractured marketplace with over probably dozens of different streaming services with different niches. Where do you see OTT streaming, and that's over the top streaming, the kind of idea of this streaming platform like a Netflix or a Hulu or a Peacock? Where do you see that going? Let's call it 2 to 5 years and maybe 10 from here.
That is the $1 million question, or the $1 billion question, I guess I should say, because we're all kind of trying to figure out what's going to happen next in this space. What I can kind of, you can kind of put together from what's already happening is, so a lot of the major studios, like NBC Universal and Disney and Paramount, are kind of, they're using it as, well, Disney's probably doing it a little bit differently, but they're kind of using it as an additional window for their content. So, you have things that go theatrical. That's where a lot of the bang happens. That's where a lot of money is made, obviously. And then that content flows out of the theater and then to these other distribution channels. And where premium networks on a pay TV, like a DirecTV or a Comcast or others, would be like the next to air. Actually, it'd be DVD and the
Blu-ray.
ability to purchase, Blu-ray, and then rentals. Sorry, those, and then rentals, and then it would be like, okay, well, what's the next window after that? And it would go to these premiums. So I think it's kind of it's another opportunity for the companies that are producing the content to kind of be able to, gain value for that content prior to it then continuing on down the supply chain, right, or the value chain, I guess, to where then that asset just continues to, make money from the point that it was created. What we're starting to see today is also, what was believed to be that customers wanted maybe was, a la carte, right? Like, I only want to pay for what I want to watch, right?
Right.
But we all know that, like, it's very difficult to have like 10 different streaming subscriptions or 5 different, or to even know where anything is.
Yeah.
So you're starting to see like some of the like Roku and Apple and Fire TV and others start to aggregate that content and make it all discoverable together. And then once you find what it is that you want to watch, say on your Apple TV, you click into it and then you go into whatever the services that you want to watch it on, or is making it available. So you click on it, you can go into Peacock, you click on it, you go into Paramount Plus or Disney Plus. So I think there's still a form of like aggregation that's starting to happen again, in order to kind of simplify the process for the consumer. But from there, it's a very good question about like what does happen next. Is it, we still have a lot of major players in the space, or are there more like Sonys of the world that are basically saying, however anybody wants to fight it out about distributing the content, we're just going to sell it to anybody who wants it, right?
Yeah.
They're kind of into the arms race, I guess you could say, and they're kind of just providing, to whomever wants to come, and highest bidder gets their content and can do whatever it is that, with what they will with that.
Yeah, and Sony famously had their own platforms and then just gutted them and decided to only become a content distributor rather than a platform themselves.
Exactly.
Interesting to touch on, back in the day it was the larger cable companies and they would aggregate all the channels. It almost feels like in the today world that's happening, but instead of the cable companies, it's maybe the device platforms. It's like the Rokus, the Apple TVs, the Fire TVs are almost kind of the new cable companies because they're taking all the content everywhere and making it available in one location. And I feel that same pain where there's a show on, you're like, oh my God, I really would love to see this. And you have no idea where to look for that. And sometimes you even watch a show yourself and you could, okay, was it Netflix? Was it HBO? Was it DirecTV Stream? Was it Peacock? So thank you for a very informed and thoughtful, vision into what the future might bring.
Yeah, I wish I had more to be able to provide for that, but like I said, there's a lot of companies out there trying to kind of figure this out, like what the next steps are. But I think there's some pretty clear visions that are being executed on right now.
That's great. Well, more to come from that. We'll have to keep our eyes open, Matt. In terms of for this immediate future for the podcast, we're down to our last question. So. As always, we're based in LA, and one of the things we like to learn is about the LA-ness of some of the folks that we get to talk to. So, Matt, what is the most LA thing that's happened to you? It's either product related or not. It doesn't have to be.
It'll probably not product related specifically, more what people would expect of LA. Various interactions with celebrities and. So we had a golden retriever, and we lived in many different areas of the city. So she's been all over the place in the city with us, where walking with us or eating in different places with us and things. And I'd say she probably got the most attention from like celebrities that I've been seeing. Just walking down the street would stop by and pet her all the time, like. And I don't know who these people, like, I don't recognize most of these people, but my wife is very good at this.
Okay.
And she'll be like, do you know that was Judd Apatow and his family that just stopped to pet your dog? Or, I did recognize, I think it was Suleiman Fry. Like, I recognize her and she stopped and pet. So the joke in our family is that we were going to get a t-shirt for the dog to wear and have a marker so that whomever, like, they could sign her t-shirt. We never did that, but it was pretty funny to like kind of like in different areas, you'd be like, oh, that's, so and so. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, pet to the stars, Matt Goldade.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's got the golden retriever trick.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, that's a great one and a great note to end on. Thank you so much again to our guest, Matt Goldade. That was a lot of fun, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciated having the chance to talk to you about this.
Oh, this is great. Also wanted to thank our sponsors again. That's PMA LA at pma.la and Uruit, uruit.com. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Product in LA.